Hal, a client said to me, "You must have a huge team behind this."
We do not.
We have five
Down from 7.
because AI agents now do some of what used to require more people
And somehow the business feels bigger.
because clients see the result. They do not see the system.
That invisible system is the advantage.
And today, we talk about how businesses build it. I'm Kim,
I'm Hal,
and this is Small Business Big AI.
the podcast for operators who know AI is powerful, but still need it to make sense in the real world of payroll, people, profit, and pressure. Building a technology enabled superpower.
Now, last week, we named the divide Tier 1 and Tier 2, the businesses designed around AI versus the businesses that just layered AI onto what was already there.
And if we did our job, a few people drove to the office thinking, wait, which one am I?
And that is good because that was exactly the goal we were after, Hal.
That means it's working.
That's right. But today we go one level deeper because the most interesting thing about tier one businesses is not the tools. It is that their clients cannot see how they work.
Which sounds like a magic trick.
I know it sounds like a magic trick, but it is really an operating decision. Now, there's a moment every scaling operator hits. So let me describe it because I think that this really is going to sound familiar.
Go for it.
Okay, so you have a great client. The relationship is strong, they are happy. And then one day they refer someone to you. And the way they describe what you do does not quite match how hard you know it is to do it.
They make it sound easy.
Yes, they make it sound effortless, like it just appears. And there's a part of you, that is really proud of that. But then there's a part of you that thinks, oh, if they only knew.
Because behind the curtain, it is not effortless.
No, behind the curtain, it is people, it is steps, it is stress, all to create something that feels seamless from the outside, Hal.
That gap between what the client actually experiences and what it takes to produce that experience, that is the gap that invisible infrastructure is designed to close.
And not by making it harder, but by making it run itself.
Okay, I want to push back just a little bit there because I think this is where people get confused. Isn't this just automation? Businesses have been automating things for decades. What is actually different now?
Well, three things: scale, sophistication, and accessibility.
Unpack those.
Okay, so what used to take an engineering team, a 6-month implementation, and a budget most small businesses really could never justify. Now, a non technical operator can build it with the right tools and the right thinking. Now, that is the shift.
It used to be technical.
And now it is strategic. And most owners are still treating it like a technical problem, like IT handles it or developers build it. But that bottleneck, it's moved.
The bottleneck is now the thinking.
Correct. It is the thinking. Do you know what your system should do? Do you know what the client experience should feel like? Do you know which decisions can happen without you? Now, once you can answer that, then the tools are there. A lot of them really are free or close to it.
But most operators cannot answer those questions, not because they aren't smart.
Yeah, because they never had to. The business ran on people, and people figured it out as they went.
And that worked until the people became the bottleneck.
Right. And this is the SBTM lens, the small business transformation model. And I want us to be clear about this. So, how I want you to walk us through that sequencing.
From a SBTM perspective, this is stage three. But this part matters. You cannot build invisible infrastructure until you have done stage one and stage two. You have to understand what you actually do before you try to automate it.
Because if you skip,
You automate broken processes, which gives you a broken process at scale faster, which is significantly worse.
I mean, the infrastructure has to serve the business, not replace the thinking about the business.
And the businesses with the most powerful invisible systems are usually the ones who understand their own businesses most clearly. The systems reflects them clarity. It's not a substitution for it.
And that is the thing that most people miss, Hal, when they look at tier one businesses and they think that it happened overnight.
It did not happen overnight.
No, it happened because someone got very, very clear about what the business actually does and then built something to do the repeatable parts of it automatically. Okay, let me give this some structure because I think invisible infrastructure, that kind of sounds abstract, really, until you can see the layers.
Structure, good.
So, how I want you to think of it in three layers. Now, every business that has actually built this has all three working together. Now, layer one is capture. Everything that comes into your business, whether it's leads, data, interactions, inquiries, and client updates, well, that goes somewhere automatically, not to someone's inbox where it may or may not get seen or where it competes with 30 other things. And you know how that is. But it goes somewhere, it gets stored, categorized, and acted on without anyone having to decide what to do with it.
The simple test for layer one, does the information move by itself or does it move because the person moved it?
And that is exactly the test. And most tier two businesses, well, they fail it more than they realize. Now, a lead comes in, someone copies it into a spreadsheet, a client emails, someone forwards it to the right person, or a job is completed and someone updates the status.
All of that is human energy spent on information logistics.
Right. It's human energy spent on information logistics, not human judgment, not creativity, logistics. And it costs more than it looks. It costs more in time and mistakes and delays, and really in the mental load of the owner tracking all of it. Really in their head, Hal.
All day, every day.
Right. And so let's go to the next layer. So the next layer, number 2, is process. Now, this is really where it gets powerful. Decisions are happening without you in the room. Routing decisions, which client gets which follow-up. Pricing decisions. Does this inquiry fit this package or that one? And then you have prioritization decisions. Which lead needs attention today?
And this is a layer most businesses do not have at all.
Right, because building layer 2 requires something that most businesses have never done, and that's writing down their decision logic. So, not keeping it in their head, but writing it down on paper. Now, if this, then that. You've all seen that. If a client has been with us more than 90 days and has not had a renewal conversation, well, then trigger this sequence. Or if a lead came through this channel, then route it here.
Most owners carry that logic in their gut.
Yeah, in their gut, in their midnight text to the team, in the "let me think about this" reply that takes 3 days.
This is why they cannot ever fully step away.
That is so true. So the business depends on the brain being available, which is not a system.
That is a very expensive, very tired dependency.
Correct. And finally, there is layer 3. That's deliver. This is what the client actually experiences. The proposal that arrives the same day, the follow up that references exactly what they said in the call, or the report that feels like it was built just for them. I mean, fast, personalized, and seamless.
And the client has no idea the back end is running on logic, not labor.
And that right there, Hal, that is the design goal. Seamless output from invisible infrastructure. The client experiences warmth, and the back end is really just cold precision.
And most businesses,
Well, most businesses have layer 2 partially, and fewer have layer 2 at all. Almost none have all three integrated and working together.
and the ones that do,
Well, the ones that do produce results that look impossible from the outside, which is why that client said, "You must have a huge team."
when really the team is 5 people and a very well designed system,
That's right. 5 people doing work that actually requires 5 people.
not 3 people plus the ghost of 12 other people's manual tasks.
And that is a very specific ghost.
I have met it in a lot of business a time or two.
I'm sure you have. So, as promised last week, I want to take you inside what this actually looks like, not as a hypothetical, but as something I am building right now in real time for 2 businesses at the same time.
2,
Right, 2. The podcast you're listening to right now has back end infrastructure. It captures listener interactions, generates content framework, manages follow up, and coordinates publishing, mostly without me touching every single task. Now, I check things, I make decisions, but the routine movement, it runs.
that is not small. The podcast is not a side project.
And then there is Lewis Howard Insurance Group. Now, this is the agency that we are opening in Lake Nona, Florida. And this is where the architecture conversation becomes very real very fast because insurance is a relationship business. The conventional wisdom says that you need people for everything: the personal call, the handshake, the human touch.
And that is true.
Yes, that is true for the right things. But there is so much that happens between a lead comes in and a policy is bound that does not require a human. It requires precision, consistency, speed.
Which systems do better than people.
Right, exactly. Systems do that better than people. And all of it invisible to the client. They experience speed and care. They do not see the infrastructure behind it.
So, walk me through the tools because I think this is the part where people are truly, truly curious about.
And that's fair. So we are working in Replit, Claude Code, and Codex, not because those are the only tools and not as a tutorial, but because those are the tools that let me build things that really I could not have built just 2 years ago without a huge technical team.
And you are not a developer.
No, I am very much not a developer, but I built functional infrastructure for two businesses with those tools. Now, I'll be the first to admit some of it surprised even me, and some of it humbled me. And none of it is completely finished, and that matters because I don't want anyone picturing some polished, complete system. I want you all to know the truth. It is evolving. It is being tested.
To build a level of trust.
Right. That is the honest version.
What I keep coming back to is the timing of the decision. You made a stage 3 decision at stage 0 before the business had clients, before infrastructure had volume to test against. That is rare. That is the lesson.
Yeah, because the alternative how is building it the traditional way first and retrofitting it later. And as we said this last week,
The retrofit is always more expensive than the original build.
always, and in insurance, where the margins are thin and trust is the product, an inconsistent client experience is not just an operational inconvenience, it is a business risk. But they do not and should not see the infrastructure behind it.
That is the point. If your clients can feel the hand-offs, hear the "let me check on it and I'll get back to you," notice that lag between their question and your answer. It is not a system yet.
That's right. If your clients can see your system, it is not a system yet. A real system is invisible by design. The client just feels the outcome. So, how do you start building this? Especially if you are not technical, and especially if you feel like you are starting from zero.
3 questions, and this time, I wanna go first.
Oh, look at that. The guest hosting your own podcast.
It happens. Question 1, what does your client experience look like? Not what you deliver, what they experience. There is a difference. Most businesses design from the inside out. They build what is convenient to produce internally and then hand it to the client.
So, tier one businesses, they design from the outside in. They start with what perfect feels like to receive, then build backwards. So, what does the client need to feel? And what would it take to create that feeling consistently at scale without depending on one person having a good day?
Question 2, what happens between the client's request and the client's experience? Map every step, not the steps you think happen, the steps that actually happen. Every person touches it, every place it waits, every handoff, every "I'll get back to you."
Now, this exercise is almost always uncomfortable.
Because it reveals exactly where the systems break down. And usually, most of the steps in that chain do not require human judgment. They require consistency, which systems do better than people.
Every time.
Question 3, which of these steps generally requires a human? Be very strict about this list, not emotional. Be honest, because the natural impulse is to say, we need a human here, or clients expect a person here. And sometimes that is true. But most of the time, what clients really need is speed, accuracy, and a response that makes them feel like someone is paying attention.
And a system that can deliver all of that.
Reserve the human for the moment where it actually changes the outcome, the strategic conversation, the moment of trust, the phone call that turns a hesitant client into a committed one, the creative decision that could not have been predicted by a rule.
And that's right. That is where the human belongs, not on a status update, not on the reminder email, and not even on the report that could generate itself.
The businesses winning right now have something in common.
Yeah, you cannot see how they do it.
That is not an accident.
No, that is the goal. There's something uncomfortable about building invisible systems that I want to name because I personally, I felt it and I have watched other operators feel it and really not say it out loud.
Say it.
Okay, well, parts of us wants clients to see the work. You know, we have egos. We want credit for the effort. We built something. We want them to know we built it. We want the work to be visible.
That is very human. That is not a flaw.
Yeah, that is not a flaw, but it is a real tension because the best client experiences, well, they feel effortless from the outside. And effortless means invisible. So the effort is hidden by design. And that shift from wanting to show the work to intentionally hiding it is really harder than it sounds, Hal.
There's also a fear version of this. Some business owners resist automation because they think the process feels automated. The client feels like a number, like they are being handled, not served.
Which really can happen if you automate thoughtlessly.
But thoughtful automation does the opposite. The client gets faster responses, more personalized follow up, and better consistency because the system does not have bad days, does not forget, and does not have 11 other things competing for its attention.
And the human shows up in the moments that require a human, which makes those moments land differently.
More presence, not less.
More presence because the human is not buried in logistics.
And the businesses that have not made this shift are spending every working day recreating work that should run itself, not growing the business, simply maintaining it.
And that is not just an efficiency problem, it is a ceiling.
A real one, because you can only recreate so much per day, and the ceiling does not move until the system does.
So here's the question I will leave you with. What are you still doing today, this week, right now, that your business could be doing without you?
In the follow up, what would it mean for your work, for your week, for your actual life if it did?
Now, here's your small challenge for this week. I want you to pick one process, just one, something that you do manually, repeatedly, that produces basically the same output every time, like a follow up message, a quote status update. Maybe it's a new client welcome sequence or a weekly check in email or report.
Write down every step. I mean, every step, including the ones that take 30 seconds, including the ones that feel obvious, all of them.
Yes, all of them, because those 30-second steps are usually exactly where invisible infrastructure lives or where it should live.
Then circle the steps that generally require human brain to complete, not a human hand, a human brain, judgment, creativity, relationship, the kind of thinking that cannot be reproduced by a rule.
Then what is left, the uncircled steps, that is your first system project. It's not a revolution, not a replatform, but one process that could run without you deciding every time to make it run.
You are not building the whole thing this week.
Right. You are simply mapping it because you cannot make something invisible until you see it clearly. And once you can see it clearly, you can start building it to run itself,
That is how the invisible advantage gets built.
one process at a time. Now, that's it for today's episode of Small Business Big AI.
If this episode made you think differently about your business, about what should be invisible, what is still manual, what should already be running itself, share it with one person building something right now.
They do not need another tool recommendation. They need this conversation.
Link in the show notes. Easy to forward.
And next week, we go one level up. So if today was about making your operations invisible, next week is about what the whole business looks like when AI is the operating system, not the support system. We are calling it the Lean Business Blueprint. The math is different. The structure is also different.
And I think it's going to surprise some people.
Until next time, keep building smarter and building what scales.
Keep building your technology-enabled superpower.
This has been Small Business Big AI. We'll see you in the next episode.